So what we're doing now is my seared scallops with braised pork belly and an orange and star anise sauce. Now, Julie, what happened with your scallops?
I didn't time it very well, and so I put it aside before serving, and I accidentally put it into a warm pan instead of into a cold pan, so it continued to cook.
But the scallops, I'd suck on them and then I'd spit them out. These are way overcooked. It's a shame. Now, what we have here is some beautiful spring-based scallops. They've been removed out of the shell, and what we've done is basically taken the scallop and just literally cut it in half. Now, what we want to do is create a little rose shape out of the scallop. We've marked a penned a circle, okay? So we've got a guide, and we've marked it on the other side, so you're not going to get the flavour of the texture, yeah? And it's just standard greaseproof paper. Now, it's really, really important that you dry the scallops out. There's no moisture at all, or what's going to happen is the scallops aren't going to stick together, okay? If they're wet, they'll just fall apart. All right, Julie, I'm going to get you to do the rest. You get the rhythm?
Yep.
The dry side stays up. And not only does it help with the presentation by fanning them out like that, but it also helps to stick them together evenly, and it will cook evenly as well. How's that, Julie?
Good.
Okay, you've done it. You've done not a bad job. Right, so now we're left with that little hole in the centre, and we're just going to cover that hole up. And there we have it. We've got that beautiful little rows of scallops, so to speak. Our scallops actually need to sit on something. They need a little base of some sort. So what we've got here is some puff pastry that we've just cut with a cutter. We've docked, okay, put on silicone paper. We've popped another sheet of silicone paper on top, a tray on top of that, and baked it in the oven for 8 to 12 minutes at 160 degrees, just until they become nice and golden brown. Pop that down. So we're going to pop the caramelised shallots on top of the puff pastry, and that will create the perfect bed for the seared scallops. Right, our pork belly's been in the oven for 8 minutes. Now have a look at that. Julie, come and have a look at this. That beautiful golden, you know, crispy colour, you know?
Yep.
Delicious. Now, the next step is to sear our scallops, and this is probably the difficult part, okay? Now, you really need to concentrate when you do this, and you need to be really quick. So we've got a pan that's hot. Now, just a little bit of oil, not too much. This is our presentation side down, all right? A little bit of salt at the last minute, because we don't want to remove any moisture from the scallop. And then, pray to God, it all works. Flip side in.
So for how long?
Oh, 30 seconds, Jules. We just gently peel off that greaseproof paper, and we don't need that anymore. So that just helped us get them in the pan. We don't want these to come apart. If it comes apart, it defeats the purpose of doing it like this. Right, at this point here, we grab our puff pastry disc with our onions, and we just gently place them on top. All right, and now I need to get it out of the pan. That's the tricky bit, Jules. Do you want to do it?
Oh, I might watch you do it.
You sure? I'm happy to pass the job on. What I like to do is wipe the pan clean of oil. I need some real praying happening here, because this is going to be fun. Right. There you go. Wow. All right. Okay. There you have it. There are our scallop, our rows of scallops, so to speak. Right, Jules, now we're ready to plate up. Okay, so first step is our little rows of scallops go down, and then we've got our pieces of pork belly. You know I hate even numbers, Jules, so there's one piece left for you.
Beauty.
Okay. And then just to finish our sauce, that is like a glaze, you know, it's just beautiful and rich. And maybe a little bit for you, Jules. How about that?
Yum.
And then just to finish, parsley cress. We just elevate the dish. And there you have it, seared scallops, braised pork belly, and an orange and star anise sauce.
Nice one.
Jules, that's yours, baby.
Ripper.
A whole lot, a whole lot. What are you doing? How's that?
It's so soft. It just melts in your mouth. It's so tender. The sauce is really rich and beautiful, like a real orangey sort of a glaze.
I don't know if you can sort of notice, there's not many flavours on this plate, you know. It's a play on textures with, 4 different flavours. You don't need to overload things with lots of different flavours.
No, it's really lovely. Lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. You did a great job, sweetheart. Thank you. Chris, would you like to come up and taste?
Love to.
I wish I could swear, it's so good. The combination of the shallots and the herbs you put through just really lift those scallops.
Yeah, they do.
It's an amazing combination, yeah. That sauce is gorgeous.
It's lovely, so simple, so easy.
Yeah.
Orange juice, fresh orange juice. Right, top tips. When cooking the pork in glad wrap or sous vide style, make sure that the bath for the pork is approximately between 90 and 100 degrees. Also, it's really important that your scallops are dry. Leave them between absorbent paper so that it removes as much moisture as possible, or else the scallops won't stick. My final tip, when you pop those scallops in the pan, you need to be on the ball. You need to be over them, ready to go to get them out of the pan, or else you're going to overcook them.
So the reason I picked scones is because they're just a classic that everybody warms to, and you have to have a good recipe. So, Chris, you're going to come up as soon as you failed dismally in the challenge against Julia.
Thanks.
And you're going to help. This is a cracker of a recipe. So, 150 ml of milk, 150 ml of cream, 1 egg in there, whisked. And I'm going to put 3 cups of flour, and I'm not going to bother sifting it. Okay, so just crack an egg in there.
I need to put the shell somewhere.
Yeah, I'll just put the shell in there. I love the way you're so tidy, Chris. I love it. So whisk the egg in. And as long as you get this 150, 3 cups of flour, 1 egg, which is pretty easy to remember, you're going to be good. Lucas?
It's self-raising flour, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Self-raising flour. If you didn't use self-raising flour, baking powder, all right? Probably about 1.5 teaspoons to 3 cups if you use plain flour. And we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons full of sugar. So if you pop that into the dry ingredients, there's always a reason for a little bit of sweetness. Dates, chopped, 1 cup in. And zest 1 lemon. And there we have date and lemon scones.
Okay.
Come on, Chris. Pick the pace up. So 3 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, cup of chopped dates, zest of 1 lemon. And don't forget, you got some flexibility, so you can make them savoury. You could put dill, you could put feta, you could put olives, you could put anything you want in, and they'd make great little canopies. Sam, you got a question?
Yeah, you talked about variations with savoury scones.
Yeah.
What are some other things you could put in a sweet scone?
What other things?
Yeah.
Well, start thinking about sweet things.
Yeah.
Just think of anything. You put chocolate. To be honest, you could treat it like a muffin. You can put fruit in it, you put dried fruit in it, semi-dried fruit, So all we've got to do is put in the wet ingredients, which is the 150 milk, 150 cream, and the 1 egg.
Just pour it in and mix it up.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to just give it a good old mix. All right, so it's pretty much an all-in-one recipe. That's what makes it nice and easy. Bring it together in the bowl, and then we're going to tip it out onto the bench with a little bit of flour. So tip that baby out. And what you're going to do is just give it a quick knead, but essentially you're just going to bring it up into a nice sort of smooth, coherent dough and forming it into a big patty that you can cut scones from. Yeah.
How much do we work at?
Not much, just so it's a nice, coherent sort of chunk, which looks pretty good. Does it feel nice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then basically flatten it out, bring it round, flatten it out, bring it round, so you get about a, 2-inch, bit flatter. So really, I mean, all you're doing is just saying, how big do I want my scones to be?
Your 2 inches are different to my 2 inches.
Yeah, I know. Right, crack those out. Right, so what I do is I then tip them out this way, so they've got that little flat side up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what's important is not to overwork the dough here. You want a nice, soft, sort of cohesive dough. And if you overwork it, you'll get a different texture. You'll sort of have a more chewy textured scone. I prefer a crumbly scone. So basically just a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar on the top gives you a little bit of a glaze. And these get baked at 200 for about 10 to 15 minutes until they're golden, all right? So Chris, pop them in the oven, 15 minutes, and then we'll be enjoying a pot of tea.
Lovely.
And some scones. So there you have it, the world's easiest scones. Top tip for scones, let's face it, recipe. Recipe is king for pastry. If you don't follow that recipe, it's not going to work. But number 2, just make sure that you don't overwork the dough. You're going to end up with this really sort of bready scone. And also bake until golden brown.
Gary, I've got the tea.
Oh, beautiful. Put it down here. Actually,
the scones ready?
Yeah, just grab them out of the oven.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Ooh,
you're
they look
a
great.
good man, aren't you?
They look delicious.
So you can tell they're cooked because you tap them on the bottom. They've got little hollow bottoms and they're nice and light. Bit of jam and a bit of cream on each one.
Yep.
And I suppose we should ask Chris if he wants to taste one first. Chris, come on, let's try. Let's see what you think of your scones. I've got to get in there too. I can't let you two...
Wow.
It's beautiful and crisp on the outside. I love that texture.
I think there's so much soul in something as simple as a scone, you know, and there's so many chefs out there that can't make one.
Thank you.
Cheers, Chris. Sam, come on. You were our other high tea contestant.
Reminds me of when I used to go over to my grandma's house and eat scones with her. It's beautiful.